Rogers, Officer Peter Barrows, and Officer Christopher Robinson. And now we are so fortunate to have... And now we're so fortunate to have David Shagru play the national anthem. Thank you, David. And now I'd like to welcome our first selectman, Rob Rule, and I would just like all of you to know that I am so thankful to him for letting us have our Waterford coffee houses, and Mike Vassetto also. We have that at Philomena's. So for all of you veterans that don't know about it, it's always on the second Tuesday of every month at Philomena's from 9 to 11. And thanks to Rob, we're able to do so much more for our veterans. I know you deserve much more than we could do, but just remember we're there. You can call if you need help with anything, call Senior Services. And thank you again for coming today. Rob?
Thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate all of you here to honor and remember. Before I get into my comments, there's too many people here that have made such an impact to individually announce all of you. So for all the veterans here, all the volunteers in town, all the town employees, all of our first responders, our staff that, got this park ready for today. Every single person that's added to this, I just want to thank you all for being here. It means a lot to our community. Also, I just want to do, if everyone could please keep the Goodhine family in your thoughts and prayers. Quaker Hill suffered a serious car accident a couple of days ago, and our thoughts and our prayers are with the Goodhine family. So please keep them in your thoughts. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take a moment to thank Brigadier General Ron Welsh, Selectwoman Jody Nazarchek, and Jim Reed for organizing the Waterford Coffee House and other special events in town. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to acknowledge and welcome longtime Waterford resident, dedicated Board of Finance member, and retired United States Navy Captain J.W. Bill Sheehan here today. Captain Sheehan, Captain Sheehan graduated from the Naval Academy in 1963 and entered the U.S. Submarine Force. He started his career with the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Training Pipeline and went on to serve on 5 submarines and 3 shore duty stations throughout his naval career. Captain Sheehan's at-sea tours culminated in his tour as commanding officer of USS Daniel Webster, Gold Crew. While his final tour in the Navy and service to our country was as Executive Officer of Submarine Base New London, retiring in 1987. An amazing military career and hero. Thank you again, Captain Sheehan, for being here with us today. A hero is an ordinary person facing extraordinary circumstances and acting with courage, honor, and self-sacrifice. Today I stand before you with so much to say, yet I'm not sure how to say it, or if what I have to say will be enough or is enough. Is a thank you enough to all the men and women who died to defend our right to be here today, enjoying all of our freedoms? Is thank you enough to our military families that sacrificed so much for me and my family to live free and safe here in Waterford? It can't be just a thank you. They have to become more than just words. But how? How can we make that mean something? How can we make them practical? How can we make them enduring? Today, I think of our veterans and what they sacrificed. Those who have served make me want to be a better person, to be more conscious of people, places, things. Be more conscious of the freedoms I have. Be a better person. Volunteer. Give back. Go out of your way to say something nice. Listen. Smile. Appreciate. Today I ask all of us to focus on some of the words at the World War II Memorial in Washington. They fought together as brothers in arms. Now they sleep together, side by side. To them, we have a solemn obligation. That's from Rear Admiral Chester Nimitz. Another, our debt to the heroic men and women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices. That's from Harry Truman. But again, I wonder if thank you is enough for all of you here today or to the family members of a fallen soldier. And so today we recognize all those among us who have been a part of the great brotherhood and sisterhood we call the U.S. military. Our veterans, active duty, service members, guardsmen, reservists. Today we celebrate the strength, courage, and dedication to our veterans, who not only wield the hammer of conflict, but also shape the world for lasting peace. Let us also remember our future veterans who are serving today, writing a new history. I ask everyone I talk to please never forget, remember, honor, and take the time to say thank you to our veterans, and ask you all here today to do the same. We often hear that freedom has a price. Today is our day to say thank you to those for generations have footed the bill, to those who have paid so dearly, and to the families and friends whose lives are forever changed and to whom we owe an enormous debt. Waterford is committed to honoring our men and women in uniform who have made the ultimate sacrifice. I want you to know we love you, we respect you, and we appreciate you. I would like to end my comments with a quote from John F. Kennedy, which says, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not the other words, but to live by them." May God bless all those serving in harm's way. May God bless our veterans, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce our honored speaker, Brigadier General Ron Welch, USA retired. Before we let Ron speak, I just want to give you a little bit of background about him. I've been honored and fortunate enough to have known him for over 30 years because our children went to school together at Southwest School. Ron has always been there to help out with whatever we needed. And at this time, it is with distinct honor I introduce Waterford resident and hero, retired Brigadier General Ron Welch, who was the director of the Joint Staff Connecticut National Guard. Brigadier General Welch has served on active duty and in the National Guard in a full-time capacity for over 38 years. In 1978, he joined the Army and became an airborne ranger, serving with 2nd Battalion, 75th Infantry at Fort Lewis. He was commissioned through OCS in 1984 and completed 37 additional military schools, including Army War College, Dual Status Commander's Course, and Advanced Joint Professional Military Education, and is Level 3 Joint Qualified. Brigadier General Welch deployed to Panama 3 times and competed in Athens, Greece as a member of the U.S. military pentathlon team. He held 28 previous assignments, including 6 years as Chief of Staff and 2 years as a MACOM commander. He deployed for 1 year to eastern Afghanistan as an embedded team training chief, training and conducting combat operations with the Afghan National Army. After 9/11, Brigadier General Welch trained and deployed with quick reaction forces to airports, nuclear power plants, rail networks, and oil tank farms. His civilian education includes a master's degree in organizational management from Eastern Connecticut State University and a master's degree in strategic studies from the Army War College. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce Brigadier General Ron Welch.
So I'd like to thank both our wonderful First Selectman Rob Gruhl and Jody Nazarchuk for that very kind introduction. It's way over the top. I'd like to also thank United States Navy Captain Sheehan and other veterans and those that are currently serving in the military. Please wave your hand for joining us today. I'd like to thank your families, both present and currently serving, for all the sacrifices, both in peacetime and war, that you've all endured. So what's the importance of today? On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the Allies and Germany put an end to World War I. The conflict at the time was referred to as the war to end all wars, resulting in the loss of 20 million lives in 4 short years. This prompted leaders to designate November 11th as the day to honor veterans of World War I. In later years, it became a day to honor all veterans. Today's Veteran Day celebration is where we honor the men and women who have sworn the oath to protect and defend our freedoms. Take a moment today to pause and think about someone in your family tree that has served or your service. Our military service dates back in this land to 1636 in Salem, Massachusetts, 386 years ago. And that's what makes our country so great and the free society that it is today. 2 years ago, I chose to talk about a few words. They were duty, selfless service, and honor, which are 3 of our 7 Army values that every soldier learns in basic training. These are the tenets that bonds our military and veterans together. Duty, fulfill your obligation. Doing your duty means more than carrying out your assigned tasks. It means accomplishing the mission as part of a team. Selfless service, putting the welfare of the nation, the Army, and your subordinates before your own. Selfless service is the commitment of each member to go a little further, endure a little longer, and to look a little closer to see how he or she can contribute to the effort. Honor is a matter of carrying out, acting, and living the values of respect, duty, loyalty, selfless service, integrity, and personal courage in everything you do. Today, I'd like to briefly talk about those 4 additional Army values: loyalty, respect, integrity, and personal courage. In brief, loyalty: bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the military, your unit, and your service members. Respect: treat people as they should be treated. In the Soldier's Code, we pledge to treat others with dignity, respect, while expecting others to do the same. Integrity: do what is right legally and morally. Integrity is the quality you develop by adhering to moral principles. Personal courage: face fear, danger, adversity, both physical and moral. Personal courage has long been associated with our military. We build personal courage by standing up for and acting upon things we know are honorable. President John F. Kennedy once said during a Veterans Day speech a long time ago, and I quote, "In an age that threatens the survival of our freedom, we join together to honor those who made freedom possible," end quote. So here we are today, over 60 years later, doing just that, honoring and celebrating the service and sacrifices that made freedom as we know it possible today. Countless heroic service members from Waterford have their names inscribed on monuments right here on this brick walkway, and some lay in their final resting place in our beautiful town and around the world, those that answered the call of our nation. The one thing that hasn't changed throughout our entire history as a nation is that our courageous service members and families of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and now Space Force make daily sacrifices for all of our good. As the United States military continues global operations in over 150 countries by land, sea, and air, space, and in the cyber domain in response to daily domestic operations, over the past several years, we have witnessed these 7 words in action, either firsthand or by way of the media. According to one of my former bosses, General Daniel Hokanson, the chief of the National Guard Bureau, and I quote, "National Guard members supported every combatant commanders around the globe and met every governor's request for assistance here at home and around the world, despite a pandemic and record wildfires and named storms, the highest level of National Guard support to our nation since World War II. As we speak today, more than 20,000 Guard members are standing post overseas. Despite the inherent dangers, our service members left their homes and families to help their communities and neighbors recover from devastating homeland events. Whether it was wildfires in California, or a tornado in Kentucky, or a hurricane in Florida. In 2021 alone, Guard members provided more than 450 million meals to neighbors, distributed more than 345 million pieces of personal protective equipment, and administered over 14 million vaccines across 50 states, 3 territories, and the District of Columbia. They've also helped local and state agencies recover from cyber attacks. As you know, all our service members are 100% volunteers. They'll never leave a fallen service member behind. They fight courageously under the most austere conditions in the world. They fight to stay alive, for each other, for their families, and our great country. During domestic operations, they serve They do three big things: save lives, protect property, and reduce human suffering. So in closing, what our service members are all about. Why do they do what they do? 7 words sum it up: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Today, please celebrate our veterans' families. Thank you for the invitation to speak. God bless our country, our service members, and their families. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce Captain J.W. Bill Sheehan, U.S. Navy retired.
Good morning, Brigadier General Welch, Selectwoman Jarczyk, and as I look out into the audience, I see some town officials that I'd like to recognize. Our current RTM moderator, Paul Goldstein, his predecessor as moderator, Tommy Dembeck, who's also in the fire service, Richard Muckle, I think he's the majority leader of the RTM, Sue Driscoll, the minority leader of the RTM, Glenn Patterson, a chairman of the Board of Finance member, Bob Tanuski. I see the director of Rec and Parks, Ryan McNamara, and if I missed anybody, I apologize. Veterans and other attendees, thank you for coming to this short ceremony honoring Veterans Day. My thanks to First Selectman Rob Brule for inviting me today. General Welch gave an excellent summary of why we celebrate today as a Veterans Day. When I was in elementary school, though, this date was called Armistice Day because of the war's end all wars that ended, as the General said, at the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month in 1918. Congress recognized it as a day to remember in 1926, made it a legal holiday in 1938. In 1954, though, the Eisenhower administration asked Congress to change the name of the day to Veterans Day, no apostrophe, to honor the American veterans for their patriotism, love of country, willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. By that time, of course, the nation had been in 2 additional wars, one declared and one considered a police action, Korea. Of course, since then, we've had the Vietnam War, the Cold War, the Gulf War, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, none of which were declared wars, plus numerous skirmishes in the Middle East and Africa. As I speak, we are supporting another war in Ukraine with material and weapons, but fortunately not with armed personnel. The Uniform Holiday Act of 1968 moved this holiday to the last Monday in October, but veterans organizations and the general public forced the issue, and the holiday was moved back to this original day of 11 November in 1975. So this day is set aside to remember and honor all veterans, living and dead. Traditionally, though, the emphasis has been on the living veterans, since the nation honors those who died on active duty on Memorial Day in May. Where we're standing, Waterford has chosen to honor its veterans with bricks that were purchased by the veteran or his or her family. According to a recent article in the London Day, there are currently 675 engraved bricks behind me, including 10 that were just installed in the last 2 weeks. In his introduction, First Selectman Brule concentrated on my service in the U.S. Naval Submarine Force. He did not mention that I've been involved as a volunteer in Waterford's government for the last 33 years. As I was walking the bricks recently, I made note of the members of Waterford's government, past and present, and other residents who contributed to the quality of life in Waterford in some fashion outside of town government. I do not mean to slight any veterans I do not mention, since I'm sure this list of names is not all-inclusive. If I remember the position in town government of the outside organization, I will mention it. In in no particular order except as I saw them on the bricks. Ron Bugbee, who's director of Rec and Parks. Walter Eckert, the father of Paul Eckert, former first selectman and deputy director of Rec and Parks. Frank Levati Jr. and his father and two uncles, the Path of Honor bricklayer. Herb Davis, Art Davis, finance director. Lawrence Betancourt, first selectman in the 1980s and state senator in the early 90s. Randall Collins, superintendent of Waterford Schools. Murray Bud Pendleton, former chief of police. Ray Pollock, Steve Percy, Bruce Elliott, dentist. Mary Lynette Lenzani, longtime head of the Waterford Visiting Nurses, now called the VNA of Southeastern Connecticut. George Strutt, RTM member. Brendan McGirt, career firefighter and RTM member. Francis Sweeney, member of the Waterford Board of Education, has got a field house named after him. And James Wadlow, I believe was planning and zoning or ZBA, I can't remember which. I'm sure I missed a number of other persons who contributed to Waterford and who are named on these bricks, but I do not remember. I would also like to add the names of two veterans that I know that don't have bricks here. One is the late John Markowitz, who was president of Sonolus after he left the Navy, then became the director of the Southeastern Connecticut Enterprise Region, although in those days it was called CRED, and then he moved it into sector. He was also active on the saving the submarine base in 1995. He was also a member of the State of Connecticut Nuclear Energy Advisory Council, serving as chairman of that council for about 5 years. John died of the same brain cancer that took John McCain a few years ago. And Ray Rowich, who is still up and kicking, a former RTM member for a brief period of time, and also a member of the State of Connecticut's Nuclear Energy Advisory Council. He's also very active in the local Navy Submarine League chapter and is on the board of directors of the Submarine Force Library and Museum. For those I did not recognize, I apologize. I also noticed there are many World War II veterans listed, as well as Korean and Vietnam era veterans. This list is, as well as those I did not mention, so that they have contributed to their country and their town, both in the uniformed service and as veterans of that service. And we are forever grateful for their service throughout their lives. Again, my many thanks to First Selectman Brule for the opportunity to speak today. And thank you for listening and celebrating Veteran Days with us. Have a great day and stay dry this afternoon.
Before I say anything else, where did she go? I wanted to recognize Beth Sibilia. She's our other select woman. And sometimes Rob's in the middle of the two of us, and sometimes he has a really tough time. I just want to read something to you that really just really impressed me when I read it. It said, "Let us always remember that it is the veteran and not the preacher who has given us our freedom of religion. It is the veteran and not the reporter who has given us freedom of the press. It is the veteran and not the poet who has given us freedom of speech. And it is the veteran and not the campus organizer who has given us the freedom to assemble. It is the veteran and not the lawyer who has given us the right to a free trial. And it is the veteran and not the politician who has given us the right to vote." Thank you all for attending our Veterans Day ceremony, and please remember our veterans every day of the year. They are our true heroes. God bless our veterans, God bless all of you, and God bless America. And now I would like to introduce our chaplain, Joe Priest. Oh, I'm sorry, I goofed. Now I'd like to introduce Dave Shabru. He's going to sing God Bless America.
God bless America. land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And now I would like to introduce our police chaplain, Joe Parise. And while he's giving us the invocation, I would just like you to remember our 13 service members who were killed in Afghanistan last year. Marine Corps Lance Corporal David Espinoza, 20 years old, from Rio Bravo, Texas. Marine Corporal Sergeant Nicole Gee, 23, from Roseville, California. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, 31, from Utah. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss, 23, of Corryton, Tennessee. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, of Indio, California. Marine Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, 20, from Jackson, Wyoming. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan Marola, 20, of Rancho Cucamonga, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem Nukowi, 20, of Norco, California. Marine Corps Corporal Dagan William Tyler Page, 23, of Omaha. Marine Corps Sergeant Johnny Rosario, 25, from Lawrence, Mass. Marine Corps Corporal Humberto Sanchez, 22, from Logansport, Indiana. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Smits, 20, of Wentzville, Montana. And Navy Hospital Corpsman Max Soviet, 22, of Berlin Heights, Ohio. Please remember them in your prayers. And now I would like to have Joe Parise give our invocation.
It's a privilege to be here today and offer you this invocation. So let us come together in prayer. Heavenly Father, we take this moment in the busyness of life to pause and remember those who have served in all branches of our military services. Help us to remember the sacrifice so many made so that we may live here today in a free country. So many gave all that they had for freedoms. So many gave all for the freedoms of others around the world. Many paid the ultimate sacrifice in giving their lives for the freedom of others. We must remember those who did not come home. May we feel their presence of their spirits with us today. May we also remember that freedom comes with a price. It is not free, and it comes with great sacrifice. May we always be grateful for the nation, for those who have served this great nation and are serving around the world today. May God pour out his blessings on all of our veterans and their families around the world. And may God bless America. May God bless the town of Waterford and all those who serve her. And it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Before everybody leaves, could the Cub Scouts please stay? We want to take a photo of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you again, veterans, for all that you do and have done for us.